The circumstances are loud right now, louder than the vision, louder than the knowing, and somewhere in the middle of all that noise, you're wondering if what you believed you're supposed to do in life is actually possible. It is, but holding it through this season requires something most people had never been taught. Not positivity or pushing harder, not ignoring what is real either. The ability to tell the difference between a circumstance that is testing your vision and one that is actually redirecting it, and the specific tools to hold steady when you can tell them apart. That is what we're getting into today. By the end of this episode, you're going to have a clear framework for navigating the seasons when everything around you is saying stop and something inside you is still saying keep going. And you're going to know exactly what to do with both of those signals. I'm Caren, and this is The Rewrite, a podcast about finding the courage to pursue the life you already know you're meant to live. Whether this is your first time here or you have been on this journey with me for a while, welcome. Every episode stands completely on its own, so you can start right here. Today, we are in Pillar 1 of the blueprint, vision, and specifically the part of having a vision most people are not prepared for. What happens when circumstances try to take it from you? Before we get into the tools and steps, I want to give you the most important distinction in this entire episode, because without it, everything else we talk about today will not land the way it needs to. There are two kinds of circumstances that push back against a vision. The first kind is a test. It is resistance that is designed to reveal whether you actually believe what you're building toward, whether the vision is strong enough and grounded enough to survive contact with real life, whether the foundation underneath it is what you think it is. A test feels hard, but it does not feel wrong. Something underneath the discomfort still says this is the direction, even when everything on the surface says stop. The second kind is a redirect. It is resistance that is pointing you somewhere more aligned, not stopping you, repositioning you. A redirect feels different from a test because underneath the discomfort, there is something that almost feels like letting go naturally. Like a part of you already knew this is not quite right, and the circumstances are simply confirming what you had not been willing to admit yet. And here's the most practical tool I can give you for telling them apart. Ask yourself honestly, if I let this vision go right now, would I feel a sense of peace or a deep restlessness? If the answer is a sense of peace, pay attention to that. That peace is not a surrender. It's discernment. It may be telling you that what you're holding was never actually your calling, that it was just a step in the journey, a season of preparation, a detour you chose because the real road felt too exposed. Or it may be someone else's engraved desire you adopted as your own, dressed as your vision. And letting it go is not failure. It is discernment. But if the answer is deep restlessness, that is equally important information. Restlessness at the idea of releasing something means it is deeply grooved in you in a way that is not ready to let go. That the vision is still alive even when the circumstances are not cooperating. And that inner knowing is worth honoring. It is a signal of someone who knows what they're supposed to be doing and is not yet willing to stop pursuing it. Those two feelings are your compass, and learning to read them honestly is one of the most important skills you will develop in the process of building a life on purpose. I want to give you a brief example of what a redirect actually looks like from the inside, because I think it clarifies the distinction in a way that theory alone cannot. I started a graphic tee line. It was my own venture, something I built on the side while my regular life continued around it. And on the surface, it looked like forward movement. I was doing something, creating something, building something. But somewhere underneath the excitement of it, I knew the truth. I was hiding. The tee line felt safer than the actual vision because the actual vision required me to put my real voice into the world in a way that a graphic tee never would. And hiding behind something that looked like progress was easier than facing the fear of doing what I actually knew I was supposed to do. When the costs started climbing and the traction was not following, I had a choice: push through or get honest. And getting honest meant admitting that this was never the path. It was a detour I had chosen because the road felt too real and too exposed. So I stopped, and I redirected everything toward what the vision had always been asking of me. And when I let it go, there was no restlessness, no inner knowing that something was left undone, just clarity, the kind that only arrives when you stop pretending something is working that you already know is not. That is what a redirect feels like from the inside. And recognizing it saved me from spending more time, more money, and more energy on something that was never going to get me where I was actually supposed to go. Now, let's talk about the other side, because not every circumstance that pushes back against your vision is redirecting you. Some of them are simply testing whether you actually believe you are moving toward. A test has a specific texture to it. The circumstances are hard, but the direction still feels right. The evidence is not there yet, but the knowing underneath has not shifted. The resistance is loud, but something in you is louder. And the idea of letting go of the vision does not bring relief. It brings an unease that almost feels like grief, like losing something that is genuinely yours. That is not a redirect. That is a test. And the response to a test is not to release it. It is to hold it more intentionally than before. When it is a test, here is what you do. Action step 1. Return to the foundation. When the circumstances push back, the first thing that gets shaken is not usually the vision. It is the foundation underneath it. The thing that was holding the vision steady starts to feel less certain. And when the foundation wobbles, everything built on top of it wobbles too. So the first step when circumstances push back is to return deliberately and intentionally to your foundation. Not as a feel-good exercise, as a grounding practice. Sit with what you said was holding your vision. Reconnect with it. Let it remind you that the circumstances are temporary and the foundation is not. For me, that return looks like gratitude and staying steady in the faith of my calling, sitting with what I know to be true about it, even when nothing around me is confirming it yet. Knowing that what I am building is not just for now, but for the generations that come after me, as a genuine practice of faith over fear with God in the center of it. Your return will look whatever your foundation actually is, whether it's a legacy you want to leave behind, the people you're building it for, or something bigger than yourself that has been holding the vision all along. But the practice is the same. Action step 2. Separate the circumstance from the conclusion. One of the most common mistakes people make when circumstances push back is drawing permanent conclusions from temporary situations. The funding fell through does not mean the vision is wrong. The relationship did not work out does not mean the direction is wrong. The audience has not arrived yet does not mean the message is wrong. A circumstance is a data point, not a verdict. Steven Spielberg, as an example. He was rejected from the University of Southern California's film school 3 times, one of the most prestigious film schools in the world. Low grades, they said, not good enough. He didn't accept that as a verdict. He found another way in, talked himself into an unpaid internship at Universal Studios, and let his talent speak for itself. Years later, USC awarded him an honorary degree, and he reportedly said he would only accept it if the person who originally rejected him signed it himself. By 1996, he was a trustee of the same institution that told him 3 times he did not belong there. And he is one of the most recognized and celebrated filmmakers of all time. The circumstance said no. The vision said keep going, and the circumstance was completely wrong. And treating it like a verdict is how most people talk themselves out of something that was genuinely theirs to build. So when a difficult circumstance arrives, practice asking this question before you draw any conclusion from it. Is this circumstance telling me something is wrong with the vision itself? Or is it telling me something about this particular approach, particular timing, or this particular path to the vision that needs to shift? Most of the time, the answer is the second one. The vision is intact, the approach needs adjusting. And that distinction changes everything about how you respond. Action step 3. Take the next smallest step. When the circumstances are loud and the vision feels impossible to hold, the worst thing you can do is try to solve the whole problem at once. Because you cannot see the whole solution from inside a hard season. You can only see the next step. So find it. The smallest possible step that moves something forward. Not a plan or a strategy. One action that keeps the vision alive for one more day. Because momentum is not built in a grand gesture. It is built in the decision to keep going when stopping would be easier. And every small step you take in a hard season is evidence that the vision is still alive and that you're still the person who is building it. Here's the practical summary before we get to the reflection. When circumstances push back against your vision, the first question is always the same. Is this a test or a redirect? Ask yourself honestly whether letting the vision go would bring a lightness or an unsettled, unfinished feeling. Let that answer guide everything that follows. If it is a redirect, release it with wisdom, not failure. What you learned in that season is not wasted. It is preparation for what comes next. If it is a test, hold it. Return to your foundation. Separate the circumstance from the conclusion and take the next smallest step. Not because the circumstances are not real, they are, but because your vision is real too, and it deserves someone who is willing to hold it through the seasons that are trying to take it away. Before the next episode, here's the recap of your action steps. Screenshot it or write it down so you have something to work with from this week. Action step 1. Identify one circumstance in your life right now that is pushing back against something you're trying to build or move toward. Write it down, not vaguely, the actual circumstance. Action step 2. Ask yourself the honest question. If I release this vision right now, would I feel a sense of peace or a deep sense of restlessness? Write your answer, and then write what that answer is telling you. Action step 3. If it is a test, identify your next smallest step, the one action you can take today that keeps the vision alive for one more day. Write it down and do it before you go to sleep tonight. Then do it again tomorrow and the day after that until showing up for it stops being a decision and starts being who you are. That's it. 3 action steps. And if you want a structured place to do this work, I put together a free 10-week workbook that walks you through the foundational inner work that led to this season. It's completely free and the link is in the description below. Thank you so much for being here with me today. If this episode landed for you, don't forget to subscribe, share, and follow. Leave me a comment because I genuinely want to hear about your journey and the vision you're holding on to. Every story matters, and yours does too. And if you want the full context of everything that brought us to this point, check out season 1 of The Rewrite with Caren on episode 19. Everything you need is there. Stay the course, my friends. This is The Rewrite, because your story isn't finished yet.